Yesterday in Helldivers was one of those days where you start to think to yourself, wait a second, they just said the quiet part out loud. We finally have what was a stunning and unexpected admission to the stealth nerfs, and this one sent more than a few shockwaves through the community. Now I'm going to take you through it all, and of course I've got some feedback and reactions along the way. If you're new here, you know what to do as we dive headlong into the insanity that went down yesterday in Helldivers. Alright, we've got a bunch to cover from yesterday, but first, things are not looking so good with the current 𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗀𝗆 Part 2 major order. Now there's currently only about 38,500 divers logged on planet-wide, and with the recent terminated movements, the diver forces are being pulled away from their main attack. Now up in the northern part of the terminated controlled zone, 𝗵𝗆𝗆 and now 𝗕cie both have the rupture strain running roughshod over the planet's surface. Down next to 𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗃, 𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆 and 𝗵𝗃 are both seeing the rupture seeds, and 𝗕cie is currently undergoing a level 32 assault, fueled from nearby 𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗃, unleashing, you guessed it, rupture strain onto 𝗕cie. So, if you've been counting, that's 5 planets all seeing rupture strain enemies. 𝗕cie is currently being blitzed by the bugs, and all the while, Oshaune is up there, actually losing small percentages of liberation as divers begin to peel away from that assault to go reinforce other planets. And just to kind of show you the damage here, of those 38,000 divers that are logged on, 55% of those are left hitting 𝗵𝗆𝗆, with 𝗕cie sitting at 16%. And with the way that the modifiers work these days, we need an overwhelming majority of divers to be in any one location to make any real progress, which right now seems to be over in the Rust Belt, taking on Arc Raiders. Okay, moving on, and as many of you already know, the Arrowhead devs decided to have a live stream yesterday with Nicholas and Felix answering questions while getting in some dive time together, and basically, during this Q&A session, the truth finally came out about the Coyote assault rifle and the fact that it was indeed shadow nerfed, essentially making everything the studio had previously said about how they were not going to be touching the Coyote a false statement, and exposing it all as a lie, which, let's be honest here, the community already knew based on the data mined back-end changes to things like the fire damage multipliers and of course to the fire status changes, upping the stats to require another round from the Coyote to set certain enemies on fire and also reducing fire damage ticks. Now, I've got some thoughts on all of this, which we'll get into in just a moment, but first, here's the clip discussing what was done to the Coyote from that live stream.
I mean, I could even drag that into a spicy conversation that maybe I shouldn't go into, but like talking stuff like Coyote, etc. Like, we didn't wanna touch the Coyote, and then a lot of players got into like, oh, you shadow nerfed it. I'm not sure if I should go into this, but I don't know. Here I go. I felt like the weapon also enabled that you could, like, if you have an incendiary breaker or like the cookout, you use it to put enemies on fire, right? Makes sense. It's also a shotgun. The Coyote kind of did that by 1 bullet and sometimes like 2, and so we didn't want to touch as little as possible with that weapon, but without it being basically the cookout and the incendiary breaker, but better. So when it takes 1 bullet to put stuff on fire, it comes a firing click, and then it dies. So it's like, well, what if it takes 2 bullets? I guess it removes a certain playstyle to it that was nice, but we tried to keep it as intact as we possibly could. And I know some people got angry about it, but holy crap, we tried and battled it out. And I think it plays good. Someone's gonna quote me on that and drag me over the coals for it. But yeah, I'm not sure what to say about it. But I also don't feel like I should address it in some way, because a lot of people are thinking it.
No, I think it's good for them to get an answer from a dev. I think they probably appreciate getting that. that information, you know.
Yeah, it's the kind of like some things creates very specific play styles that is like, is this the fantasy of a weapon, of an assault rifle, to be more of a one bullet here, one bullet there, make stuff burn to death? I mean,
but I mean, isn't it also the, like, we don't want any one weapon to be like, this is obviously the best weapon in the game and should be used for everything. It should be, and at the same time, it shouldn't be a weapon, shouldn't be nerfed down so that it feels unrealistic as to what the sort of the main fantasy of it is. It should feel like this is, does what it's supposed to do and it fits in the game, and if it doesn't, it probably doesn't have a room in the game. Yeah, but as I say, we don't want one weapon to be like the silver bullet that can be used for everything. Yeah, it's more different weapons should suit different playstyles and fantasies, and then you should be able to be more flexible.
It should all feel strong, and it should all feel good.
Which was like the whole balancing revamps that we have done, is to make sure that there is a bigger assortment of things for players to play around with. There is not like one obvious choice that you should always choose.
So there you go. There's the confirmation. But what makes all of this sting so much f***ing harder is how the studio devs went out of their way to poke fun at the community's fears that they were going to actually do something to the Coyote, as shown here.
So what did you change with the Coyote?
Let's see. Where is it?
Where did you put the Coyote?
Where did I put the Coyote?
Did you put it at the...
Oh wait, we didn't do anything.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Apparently, we forgot to change the Coyote. So.
Right.
And this is where the heart of the issue lies. No pun intended. The changes are one thing. More on that in a moment. But it's this combination of first going through all of this trouble of recording that sequence. Hey, where are the Coyote changes? I don't know. I can't find them. Oh, wait. We didn't touch the Coyote. To then the patch going live with incomplete patch notes, and as the change logs started showing up, we could see that the Coyote had clearly been the focus of the changes, to then yesterday, the confirmation that the stealth nerfs were directed at that weapon and that the decision to make those back-end changes were made by the entire team. In this case, and I would argue in every case, honesty and transparency would have been the play. But instead, they went with super vague patch notes with all of these exact weapon stats, but when it comes to enemy changes, they were characterized as slight. The head and body are now slightly more durable, etc., etc. And then we could already see what they had done to fire status and where it was directed, which they admitted yesterday on stream. Now, personally, I'm not one of those Coyote users that goes for single shot precision. You know what I mean? When I've got that baby equipped, I hold the trigger down and I just let her rip. So I don't really notice now that it takes 2 shots to set a warrior on fire or 3 for a commander. I'm too impatient as a player to wait for those fire ticks to really do their job, and will instead just sit there dumping ammo into a target until it keels over and croaks. But what the studio did here and how they decided to do it, I'm just going to call a spade here, fellas. I've got to say that the attempted cover-up is 100 times worse than the actual crime. Know what I'm saying? Especially when you consider that we were going to find out once that patch went live into the game and the data miners started doing their thing. Every one of those hidden changes was going to show up, and from there, players were going to see exactly what got hit and where. Plus, it's not like us players are out here scraping the bottom of the barrel for IQ, and there was any chance that we weren't going to notice those changes. Which is why I go back again to transparency. Who knows? Maybe the studio can use this as a learning opportunity. The message here is don't try and fleece your players, because they're going to find out in the long run. One way or another, the truth is always going to prevail. So it's best to just be upfront. And my hope here is that in the future, when they may be tempted to get a little creative with the word salad, or thoughts about being vague with stats kind of pops back into their heads, they'll look back to update 4.1 and decide otherwise. There's also been questions from the community who watched that stream about the placement of Nicholas's admission, with comments saying that if this was one of their coworkers or possibly a friend, and that coworker or friend was about to let loose some possibly very damning information, you'd probably give them a strong stare, maybe a side eye, or even try to quickly interrupt them to stop this train of thought. But the other dev on stream, 𝗵𝗆𝐿𝑥, just keeps right on plowing through the enemies with his mech. Now, I can't confirm or deny that one because I've never met either of these devs, but it's something to think about. Was this discussed prior to stream and decided upon that Nicholas would go out there and essentially fall on his sword for the studio's decision? Also, another question I saw was asking if this was even a live stream to begin with, because some viewers were watching the questions that were being posted, and from the messages I saw, those questions were the ones that were never asked of the devs. Now, fellas, I want to let you know today's video is not just about doom diving, because yesterday's on-stream admission could be an actual avenue to open lines of communication from the players to the studio. But clearly, posting vague changes to the patch notes or just stealth nerfing items and then trying to play it off was a stupid move. But if they can learn from this, it might finally lead to fully transparent and consistent lines of communication. As a studio, they are constantly asking for our feedback. I mean, hell, they even did it again right at the end of the stream. But when changes are made like this, under the cover of darkness, that says to the players, we hear you, we know you like the Coyote, but we're going to change it up anyways because of reason X, Y, or Z. And this is where I think a test environment would really be a great addition to the game. Now, we've heard about it ever since the 60-day patch, post-escalation of freedom, but it never came to be. Also, as a studio, these underhanded tactics have to go. As I said earlier, the cover-up ended up being 100 times worse than the actual crime, and it's long past due that devs start believing in the millions of players and consumers about what they love about the game and stop basing decisions on pick rates, power deltas, and all the rest of it. If the devs are willing, the feedback is out there, as long as they want to hear it and know what to do with it once it arrives. But here's where you get to leave some feedback. Drop a comment about this crazy admission to the changes we saw yesterday, or really anything Helldivers related, and of course I'll do my best to respond. If you happen to like the video, please consider hitting subscribe and ringing the notifications bell to receive my future upload alerts. Thank you to all of our Buzz Battalion channel members, for without your continued support, content like this would not be possible. And until the next one, this is 𝗲𝗲𝗹𝗶𝘀𝗂𝗏, signing off.